All right, gentlemen, you are in for a packed show today because if you want to hear all about faith, if you want to hear all about fellowship, and you want to hear about fitness, that's what today's show is all about, because I am interviewing the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the man who is in charge of the entire F3 nation, and that is Frank Schwartz, a.k.a. Dark Helmet, as the F3 Brotherhood calls him. If you're part of the F3 Nation, you know all about the nicknames, you know all about fellowship, you know all about faith, and you know all about fitness and what that community does for men. And what I can tell you today is today's show is absolutely packed. We do a deep dive, a huge deep dive on community, brotherhood, and even virtue on today's podcast. Frank is going to really dive into the reasons why. He's even going to tell a pivotal story of when he first started F3, being 40 pounds heavier than he is now. And he actually texted me a photo of it, and I couldn't even believe it was the same person, trying to do 100 pull-ups with a partner and what that taught him. There's all kinds of gold in this podcast today, gentlemen, and I just want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is the one, the only, Frank Schwartz, a.k.a. Lord Dark Helmet. Let's get into it. Dark Helmet. Welcome back.
Mic check. Isn't that it? Mic check, isn't it?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm press box, but
Oh, press box. I knew it was something
same thing
related. Yeah, I couldn't remember. Yeah.
all right.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. So, dude, let's talk about this F3 nickname thing first.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
for all the F3 guys out there, you already know exactly where this comes from. Dark Helmet, press box, you know, all kinds. What my cousin,
Oh, good. I like where this is going.
my cousin actually, man, you might even know who this guy is, because he's so big into F3. This guy actually is creating new groups in the St. Louis area. Like, he's obsessed with it. Does it every day. Like one of the number one guys. But his nickname is Fulton. And I'm like, Fulton? Like, why Fulton? So my cousin, I'm going to leave his name out just for privacy's sake, but my cousin used to be, and my whole family knew this, a massive drinker. Like, he was the life of the party and also the most annoying thing of the party. Just to kind of share with you, like, this is actually, he's not my cousin, he's my wife's cousin, but my wife is one of 28 first cousins. Her mom is one of 6 kids. Right.
Oh, wow.
And there are about 72 people that come over to our house for Christmas.
That's a lot of folks. That's a lot of Christmas gifts.
It's a lot. So, and I'll share with you, like, so this individual usually shows up to used to, this was years and years ago, doesn't anymore. Stopped drinking, I think 6 years ago now. But he would always show up to these holiday parties. We're like, oh, I wonder how much he's going to drink and what he's going to do, and what he's going to say. Yeah. My wife, he's made a scene at every holiday function we've had, but like he literally did my wife in one year when we were doing a white elephant thing, and somebody got something with, like, I'm talking like a crap ton of glitter on it, and my wife is like glitter phobic.
I'm with her,
right? It's like you never get rid of it.
Yeah.
And this guy decides, after he had like several cocktails, to take this thing and just shake it all over the place. Dude.
Yeah.
I saw my wife see red, and she was like, oh my God, I'm going.
He's like, this is like, it's like the herpes of gift giving. Like, you can't ever get rid of it. Like, it's there forever.
It was bad, man.
So,
he would get hammered all the time at functions like that. And, but the funny thing was, that was the fine line. His wife on the way home that night was like, you either need to stop drinking or I'm leaving you. I'm done with this. You're a total idiot. Like,
the glitter was the tip.
That was it. That was the tip of the spear for her.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he got this nickname because I think it was years and years ago. He was partying somewhere in like Western Missouri. And I think he might have, I don't remember where he was at, but he walked all the way to Fulton, Missouri, which was like 18 miles. And he did this when he got fed up with something, and he
had no idea where he was. Like,
no idea where he was. And then he got picked up in Fulton, Missouri. And so he told this story at an F3, and we're like, you're Fulton, dude. That's ridiculous.
Right on that. Yeah. Right on that. That's good. Yeah, I feel like the name is vaguely familiar. I may have met Fulton. I'm in St. Louis every once in a while, so yeah.
I swear, I bet you have. He's like one of the biggest dudes here now. So
yeah, I love it.
But Dark Helmet.
Yeah.
How did this? I have a feeling how it came about, but how did it come about?
I think you already know. As a fellow Gen Xer, there, guys have watched. Hopefully, they've watched, or maybe they watched Spaceballs. And so, a lot of times when you come out to an F3 workout, that's part of the shtick, right? You get an idiot nickname at the end. That's kind of the deal. And usually guys will be like, what's your name? Where'd you grow up? What do you do for work? Tell me about your family. This kind of stuff, right? All I said was, what's your name? And I said, Frank Schwartz. And they were like, Schwartz? Like, may the Schwartz be with you? Like Spaceballs? Your name? And one of them goes, what was the bad guy's name in Spaceballs? They were like, Dark Helmet. That's your name. Done. It was over.
I kind of figured it was like the easy button. Like all they had
a little
to
bit
was your name.
Dude, I'm just glad it wasn't like Princess Vespa. Like it could have been a lot worse, right? So I'll take Dark Helmet. I'll move it on. I just sort of smiled and I was like, I guess that's how this goes. So, yeah.
I mean, I will say something to you though, Frank, in relation to Princess Vespa. You've got a freaking phenomenal head of hair, dude. You might have like one of those industrial blow dryers or something.
It's entirely possible. I'd rather not say. No. It really makes guys mad when they're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, I wake up and I wash it with a bar of soap and then I run my fingers through it a little bit with a little bit of, like pomade or whatever, and then I move on with my life. Like it's not nearly the like intense thing that guys want it to be. Like it's just I just kind of is what it is. I just joke and say it's superior genetics.
I mean, it works for you, man. You actually look like I've only seen 1 or 2 episodes, but you look like somebody out of Suits with that hair.
Okay. So I get that I get that more than I would like. Yes.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Harvey Specter.
Yes. Harvey.
The guy.
That's
it. I get that. I get that a lot, actually. They're like, you kind of look like. I'm like, I could do worse.
A little bit. So like when you showed up to the call with me and Mickler as we were doing our planning for the Forge, I was like, dude, he looks like freaking Harvey from Suits. Like that was my first thought. I was like, he looks like a character on there.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
So, real quick, I want to ask you about F3 because first of all, we have a lot of guys in the audience who are F3 members. And I'm sure that we have a lot of guys out there who's like, what is that all about? I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it. But just to kind of give some context on my nickname of Pressbox.
Yes.
I'll never forget. I showed up to this workout and it was like in the middle of winter and it was like all of, I think 20 degrees outside. And my neighbor, who's a big F3 guy, was like, hey man, come to the workout.
What's his name?
I was like, dude, Dan Lewis.
Oh yeah. I know. Yeah.
You know Lewis?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's my neighbor. I can't remember his nickname, but yeah, Lewis.
Yeah.
But he's like, hey man, come to this workout. I was like, dude, it's like 20 degrees outside. He's like, yeah, it's fun. And I was like, all right, I'll go. I was like, just truth be told, man, I do not like work. I don't like working out in the cold. So like when it got to the end of the workout, they were like, tell us about yourself. I was like, well, I run a podcast. I love to work out. I hate to work out in the cold though. Just so y'all know, I know we just finished this workout. I have 4 kids. I'm married, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you hate the cold? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you run a podcast? And I'm like, yeah. So you're on a microphone? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, okay, Pressbox. I'm like, what? Why?
What?
Why Pressbox? And they're like, well, you're on a microphone and you don't like the cold.
And you want to be outside. So you sit in the press box like, well, can't be a field reporter.
That's exactly what it was, man.
I love it. That's one of the things I love too, is like that, so you said, tell them about F3. And if guys remember, we did this. I think we talked a little bit about it, whatever it was, 4 something years ago or 3.5 years ago, or whatever, when we did this before. But, F3 is, that's part of the deal, right? It's like, if you remember when you were in high school, if you played sports in high school, or if you were in, or like the military or something like that, I hear a lot that it's very similar in kind of that. And they're like, did you guys model it after that? And I'm like, actually, I think that's just sort of male camaraderie. I think it's just sort of what we do. You pick on each other, you kind of razz guys, you poke and see, because you're kind of testing all the time to see like, who can you trust? Who can't you trust? Who can take it? Who can't take it? How do I, involve myself in this? And one of the things that actually, I know we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, about kind of this idea of the Forge and sort of the bonding shoulder to shoulder, right? And so you get these guys, next to each other, and we start charging ahead, and then this bonding just sort of comes out. But F3 is the 3 Fs are fitness, fellowship, and faith. And essentially what it is it kind of almost follows that progression, right? And so we say, look, a guy's got to get himself out of his status quo. He's got to be unearthed. He's got to be disrupted. He's got to get himself off the couch. And for a man, our belief, right? My belief, for a man to really be what he's supposed to be, to live the potential that he's supposed to have, he must have a certain amount of discipline. And really some of that needs to come with his physical training. You don't have to be a nut job like us and, go out in 20-degree weather and, run around like crazy people and all that kind of stuff for, whatever. Like, you don't have to do that. But you really need to have some sort of physical discipline. You need to have discipline over the things that you do. You need to have discipline over the things that you eat, the things that you take into your mind and into your, into your soul. Like, you've got to have some discipline around that. And so going out in the cold in the early morning and all that kind of stuff, that's when we work out, because we found that is the best thing to bring men into community and to help them develop this discipline and to become what they're supposed to be. So that fitness part isn't just the workout. It's fitness kind of across the whole spectrum, right? So we think you ought to be physically fit. You ought to be mentally fit. You ought to be relationally fit. So you ought to have good relationships with your wife and your kids and the men around you and in your work and all that kind of stuff, right? You need to make sure those things are aligned how they ought to be aligned. And then really what happens is you get these guys out there working out, that shoulder to shoulder, that bonding, that shared suffering, all those kinds of things that sort of happen at, 20 degrees and 5 a.m. And then you really start to develop friends. And for a lot of guys, this wasn't necessarily the case for me. I have church, and I think I had a pretty good, reasonable friend group at church or whatever. Although, as it turns out, it wasn't nearly the depth of friendship that I had, that I was kind of craving and didn't even know I was looking for. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
They were good guys. What you mean. Yeah, like we bumped into each other. We talk on Sunday and stuff. And maybe every once in a while we grab lunch or something. But generally speaking, a guy, when he reaches our age, or actually I guess probably about 10, 15 years ahead of us, right? So kind of that 35 to 45, somewhere in that neighborhood. These guys will go and they haven't had really close friends since maybe high school, maybe college, depending on where they went. If they were in a fraternity or something, maybe they had some close friends that way. But they kind of hit this point where their friends consist of like their wife's friends' husbands, or like if they take kids to like soccer or something like that, like a fellow sideline dad, but you're not necessarily really bonded to that dude. And if
Right.
you are, it's still pretty superficial. Like, oh, we'll grab lunch in a while, or hey, let's go, shoot guns or, whatever, right? But it'll be around an activity. You won't necessarily like really get in deep. So once a man has become fit, really, the next thing is for him to have a tribe around him, to have a group around him, a fellowship that will help him to be supported and sustained in his effort to always stay fit, right? You've got to have this support group. So you kind of move from there and you go, wait, what's the next thing after that? Well, once you kind of have friends and you're feeling pretty good about yourself, feeling pretty fit, the next logical succession for me, and the next thing I think you should do as a man, is you start looking outside yourself. Right? Guys that stay looking inside themselves, they might be fit. They might have a couple of friends, but they will never develop. They just won't become the leader that they're supposed to be. They won't become the servant that they're supposed to be to their families and to others. Like that's kind of the Andrew Tate type guys, right? Super fit, has kind of a following. Maybe he has some sort of fellowship-y kind of a thing. But that guy, for all the ills that he's managed to diagnose correctly, it seems like he prescribes poison as a way to solve them. You know what I mean? Like it's not healthy. It's not good for you. And so we say you got to start looking outside yourself. And when you look outside yourself, you'll find that there's a big bright world out there and you're not the center of it.
All right, guys, a quick time out here, because what Frank is talking about here is exactly why we created and built the Men's Forge event. If you're tired of lone wolfing it, if you're tired of surface level friendships, God knows I am. If you're tired of winning on paper, we're going to be talking about that later on in the show as well, but you're feeling empty in your chest, in your mind, in your heart, then I want you guys to hear me clearly, because what you don't need is more motivation. What you really need is a tribe. You need to be in a room where you get tested, you get sharpened, and rebuilt shoulder to shoulder with other men who will not allow you to stay stuck. And that is why we created the Men's Forge. It's an immersive experience designed to help you train discipline, build brotherhood, and walk out with real tools, not just motivation, because let's face it, when you go to a conference, you get a lot of rah-rah, you get a lot of motivation, you get a lot of hype, and that lasts for about a week. But if you go to learn actual skills and you go to learn real things that work, like I said, in marriage, in fatherhood, and in leadership, that's what we're going to be doing. And like we've already talked about, as you guys already know, Frank is going to be one of our speakers. You guys can register over at themensforge.com. Again, themensforge.com. Let's get back to the show.
Right.
What do you say to guys? Because I've put this on social media. I used to subscribe to this probably 13 years ago, and I really didn't understand it until I joined, my very first mastermind in 2015. So 11 years ago, I didn't really understand fellowship. And I took a lot of pride in, I don't need anybody. I can, in fact, I really leaned into like this lone wolf syndrome. Yeah. And I call it a syndrome because it's a very sinister thing that we think is healthy, but it's insanely unhealthy, right? So speak to the men about why is fellowship important? And I love, by the way, Frank, how I'm sorry, Dark Helmet, Mr. Dark, Mr. Helmet.
Frank, it's okay, Helmet. It will be Lord Helmet to you. That's where
Lord Helmet, Sith Lord, Dark Helmet.
Right.
But so you really, really hit upon. I love how you did it. The differences between like those shallow friendships, and you painted a really good picture because we can all relate to the guy you shake hands with. Hey, what's up, Tom? How are you? As you leave church, I'm like, how are things going? Oh, good. Everything's good. How's the family? Oh, great. We're all good. You're sitting there sideline watching your kids play sports or dance recital or whatever, and you find out
nice guys.
Yeah,
like and who knows?
So surface.
Yeah. But it really is. It just doesn't get very far. And so, you kind of look and you go, I think that there's an element of real male friendship that requires something different. It requires suffering. It requires, someone said the other day, they were like, is it like trauma bonding? And I'm like, I don't really know if I know exactly what that is, but it sounds like it kind of could be. So yeah, we'll just go with that. Like if that's what helps you, whatever, that's fine. But there really is something to that. Like a woman, I think, can talk to another woman and maybe, and they bond that way. And there's something about developing trust through that communication and that kind of, activity. But for me, the guys that I would show up to church with, or the guys would be on the sideline of my kids' games, or, other band dads or whatever, because my kids did marching band, that kind of thing. Super nice guys. But there's no, until a man has been tested, and I think it must be in some sort of I think physical is the best and the easiest, but some sort of difficult thing. A man must be tested. And then I know I can trust you, right? And if you fail the test, it's not that I won't like you anymore. It's not that we won't be friends anymore or any of that kind of stuff. But you're not the guy that I'm going to call at 2 a.m. when it all comes crashing down, right? And I think about, there's plenty of guys in F3 and a lot. I mean, I love these guys. I mean, these are my people, right? I mean, there's 100,000 of us roughly, around the world. And I feel like I could show up to any of them and I would like those guys. Like I would love those guys because they're my kind of people, right? But until I've been in the trenches, until I've been through the test with them, I don't know if I can call them at 2 a.m., like I'm not going to trust them with those things. And so the proximity is super important, but there's also an element of you kind of have to suffer a difficult thing with another dude in order to really know whether or not he can handle what's inside. Because whether we like it or whether we don't like it, right? We can pretend that, we're tough and this lone wolf kind of thing and that we're, and it's really sexy, right? I mean, I love watching, these movies. I mean, in fact, I know I'm a little behind on this, right? But so sorry, but I just started watching Yellowstone.
What? You just started?
I know.
Hey, I hear you, man. I waited till last year to binge watch it, but yeah, go ahead.
There you go. Okay. So I'm a year behind you, but I'm binging it now. And like that John Dutton kind of, like that's pretty sexy. I will protect the land at all cost. It's me against the world, all this kind of stuff. And it looks good. It sounds good. I want to be ripped just like everybody wants to be ripped, right? You can't fight me. I'm impenetrable. But when you get down to it, I mean, even in the show, like it kind of shows, like, he can't manage a farm or a ranch by himself. Like it's not going to happen. Right. But I think that, we see these things and it looks good. And the reason it looks good is because honestly, Larry, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I would much rather not rely on anyone else.
Fair.
I would rather not. In fact, I got so bad when I was like in high school and college, I didn't play team sports. I would only play individual sports. I wrestled, I water skied. I did things like, it was only on me. And part of it was because I didn't want whether or not I won to be dependent on somebody else. But worse than that for me was I didn't want to be the reason that somebody else lost. I was so afraid of letting down the team by screwing something up. I refused to play.
Dang.
Right?
Out of all these interviews, man, I've never heard that perspective as it relates to fellowship, community, lone wolfing, that kind of thing. Like everything that you said up until that point, I've heard.
Yeah.
But I would really love for you to hit on this just a little bit more, because I think that mindset is something that is really, really sinister. It's really, really sneaky, and it keeps a lot of dudes from doing really, really great things. So talk to me more about that.
Absolutely. I can't, again, this is, we're just my experience, right? As I say often, I go, excuse me for sharing personal experiences. They're the only kind I have. Right. But I grew up in a house where, and he's dead now, so I can talk about him. What's the guy, I can't talk, right? But I grew up in a house with my dad where it was like, dude, nothing you did. I called him $1,000 guy, because you could hand my dad $1,000 and he'd be like, oh, all you had was 20s. Right. And you're like, okay, I guess that's one way to look at life, but literally nothing you ever did was going to be good enough. Nothing. You came home with an A and be like, why not an A+? You came home with like you're like, hey, I filled the tank. And he's like, why didn't you wash the windows? Do you know what I mean? Like there was just never an acknowledgement. And so I think that for a long time, I really held this belief that I was just a disappointment. That was just going to kind of be the way it was. And so I was terrified of the idea of putting myself out there, of being in community with these other people, and then doing something that screwed up and having everybody look and go, see, we were right. Your dad was right. Everybody's right. You're a disappointment. You suck. Everything, like you can't do anything right. You're not really good for very much. All that kind of stuff. And since those beliefs were so entrenched, from a very young age, and they hung around for a long, long time, really into my adulthood. Right. Like, I think for me, that's what it is. Like I've always kind of been a little bit of a people pleaser, where the thing that will trip me up faster than anything, Larry, is if I feel like I have lost respect or approval of men that I look up to. Right. So, if a good friend of mine, or something, somebody that I care about, or something that I care about, right. And they come back and they go, I'm terrible. Like I'll go in the toilet, emotionally go, and that's it. It's over. And I'll suck my thumb for 3 days and, be all pouty and pissy and, whatever. Right. And I think that, again, I don't know if that's the case for a lot of guys, but I think if you grew up in a house where you had very little, in the way of attaboys, right? Very little, I love you. Very little, I'm proud of you. Or if those words were said, but the messages that came back were kind of conflicting and different, right? And so you didn't really have a good understanding of what that really meant. I don't know. I think it could be that way for a lot of guys. I know that's how it is for me. Like it would really, even when I couldn't even work for people. I had to go start my own business because I was terrified. Like, what if I screw up and then the business does bad and then they fire me and then I couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle it. So I just was like, nope, it's me against the world. I'll handle it all on my own.
Yeah. So the view was, if I don't put myself out there and be in community, be on a team, be in that element,
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let anybody down.
Yeah.
So like the only person I could let down is myself. Right. So it's not just necessarily a fear of opening up, but also disappointing others.
Yeah, oh, for sure. You know, as I was talking about, I thought, it was like the opposite. Like, Goggins says, can't hurt me, right? Well, the way he means can't hurt me is like, I got so tough, that nobody could do. And for me, I was like, I hid from everything, so no one could hurt me. Saying you're right. I just went this other way, right? I didn't put myself out there. I would just hide. And so what that ended up making me was I was a very nice guy, but don't ask me to do stuff with you. And certainly don't ask me to involve myself in your life very much, like I'm just not going to do it. I just wouldn't do it. Now it's totally different now, but yeah, it took a while to kind of get past some of that. Yeah.
So let me ask this. Let's go back to, now I still remember our first interview where you're like, I'm going to start doing F3 because I'm tired of being fat.
Yeah.
So like literally that was I went back and looked at the show notes. I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But now, here's a man, right, who grew up the way you did with a dad like you did. Nothing was ever good enough.
Yep.
Letting people down, kind of telling yourself that story, didn't play team sports, did skiing, did wrestling, these individual sports,
mm-hmm.
But then you enter into F3 and not only do you become a member, but now you're running it. Yeah. So tell me how this perspective has changed and what has been the fruit of that for you?
So in F3, the guys that it turns out the solution that we have, the thing that it was designed to solve was this problem of what we call sad clown syndrome, right? So it's these guys that look happy on the outside, but on the inside they're dying. Of Sopranos reference, if you're familiar. Tony says his therapist at one time. He's like, oh yeah, I'm like a sad clown, like happy on the outside, but inside I'm sad, right? And that's the guy. And so guys sometimes are like, well, what kind of demographic, and I'm like, there's no demographic. Like it's a guy who this is how I describe it, and because this is who I was, right? On paper, I was killing it. Successful business. I just made an acquisition of a competitor in town, growing. I mean, without sounding like patting myself too hard on the back or anything like that, but like my clients, right, for our business, just a tiny little boutique corporate communications business, right? And a lot of video production and event work and stuff like that, right? Writing and things. And so I would go and do this stuff, but like the clients that we had were like Fortune 50s. Like they were big monsters. Like, and I would sit all the time and look at our client list and go, this doesn't make sense. This shouldn't be happening. I can't believe, like, how is it just me with my little, group of, there was 10 of us, right? How is this shouldn't be, this is going to all come crashing apart, right? So on paper, everything looked like, I wore suits to work, baby. I was killing it. I was the man, and, but I would sit fat. I'll show you a picture. I don't think I've ever seen that. I'll show you a picture later. But on the end of my bed at the end of the day, and all these wonderful things. I've got this, I go to church and I've got, every week and I'm active in my community and I've got this beautiful wife and I've got these wonderful kids and I've got this growing business and all these people, look up to me and they rely on me and blah, 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 blah. It's pre-F3, right? And I would sit there and I would go, yeah, but is this it? Like, this can't be it. Like, there's got to be more. Like, because, and this as well as anybody, and I'm sure you've talked to 1,000 guys who have the same kind of story where they go, I hit the goal and then realized, oh, well, that wasn't it. I guess I better move the yardstick. Oh, I guess I better move, because everything that we were trying to do to fill that hole in our heart just wasn't cutting it, right? I could accumulate more stuff. I could achieve more things. But at the end of the day, as soon as I got there, I would be like, okay, but that's still not, like, why do I still feel empty? And that's ultimately what kind of, I got into F3 and you say like, what changed? And I think I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like you get to this point where you're like, I can't, I've And for a guy that doesn't run his own business, it might look something like, he's had a couple promotions, right? And he's, mid to late 30s, and he just had the second kid. So they had to move into the slightly bigger house. They had to get rid of the sedan for the minivan, because now you got a couple of car seats to contend with, this kind of stuff. Right. And he thinks on paper, he's like, everything should be fine. Everything should be wonderful. What is my problem? And then some guys park and they go, well, I guess this is just it. It's just how things are. And then they turn on the TV and what do they see? According to Jim or, King of Queens or, some of these other, I don't know if that's even on anymore, right? I don't think they are. Whatever the day, today's version of the same thing, like Married with Children when we were kids, right? That kind of stuff, right? They turn that on and they go, see, I guess that's just what we are, just these, whatever. And there was something about being out there and getting around guys who didn't believe those things that opened my brain. And I was like, I think there's something to this. I think I've found a new way of being, a new way of doing things. And how do you get to be running the thing? I think sometimes you're just too dumb to know that you should have not done it. You know what I mean?
I can't imagine that though. I mean, I'm a little worried about the future of F3, that it's run by a Sith Lord. But other than that,
right.
the right man for the job is right here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But it really is, and a lot of it was good mentoring. Dave Redding, the guy who founded F3, has been a, dear friend and personal mentor for, I don't even know how long now, probably going on a decade. And he was a guy, who, he discovered the sad clown syndrome, if you will, or unearthed that this is what he's like, I am solving this one way or another. We're fixing this problem. And, kind of dove in. But yeah, I think that guys just sit and they go, I just can't do this anymore. And that's kind of where I felt I was. And I felt like I just needed greater purpose. And unfortunately, as it turns out, the purpose for which I believe God created me aligns very well with what F3 is all about.
Yeah.
And so I get to kind of live out my purpose by running this and being involved here. So it works out pretty good, but yeah.
I want to reflect back just some of my own experiences of what you're saying, just to relate to the audience just a little bit more. My wife and I were literally just talking about this. I think it was on a date day we had 2 weeks ago. But she was asking me, because I spent 20 years in corporate America in the medical device field and sold medical devices. And from 1999 to 2010, those 11 years, I was a rep. I was a sales rep, just in my local territory. Didn't really just
great.
I loved it. And I'll say this, I did really, really well financially, headspace, mentally, everything. I was like, I remember going to work, especially in between 2006 to 2010. I had the best boss, best job. And I was just like, I don't know if life could get any better. And I got rep of the year in 2009. And what do they do with the rep of the year? They promote you, right?
Yeah.
They promoted me into leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is what I want. This is, I want the title. I want the pay. I want I want all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Started leading people. And I'm like, this doesn't feel great to me. And so I was a clinical specialist for a while. So I wasn't anybody's boss, but I led guys. I was like the closer. I'd go in and close the big surgeons. And so I traveled all over.
Kind of that subject matter expert kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in 2012, I went into executive level management. So regional manager. And then I spent my last 6 years as a national sales director. So I was at the top of 109 sales reps. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, those last 6 years, I could have not been more miserable in my life. I was making great money.
Sure.
Had a company car, an expense account. My cell phone was paid for, health insurance, the whole 9 yards. The same thing as you on paper. And I'm like,
yeah.
And here's the other thing. I would ask myself, dude, why are you so miserable? And the answers that would come back is, shut up. Like, look at everything you got going on.
Quit whining, you little baby. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like just suck it up and do it. Like, this is happiness. And I literally tried to pry my way into being happy. And I'm like, and I remember being on a plane, I was on a plane every single Monday or Sunday night, and I come home Thursday. And dude, it killed me because I missed birthdays and baseball games and I miss everything.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking why is this worth it? And then, but it wasn't until I finally felt free when I quit that job and I just started doing this full time. And I'm like, okay, I'm right back where I was now and in those sweet spots, even better. But, on paper, I think a lot of guys look at their lives and like, well, I've got the house and you don't need like a mansion, but I've got a house.
Hey, you're doing fine.
My financial needs are being met. We're not like, we don't have 9 figures in the bank, but things are good. I'm married to a beautiful woman. I got great kids. Why the hell am I so miserable? And I think that loneliness piece is a big one, to be honest. But so I just want to ask you this, and then I want to move on to raising daughters, because I think that's going to be really great.
Uh-oh.
But what have you experienced in the years that you've been in F3 that have completely and totally, like, do you actually remember, like, maybe even specific moments where you're like, damn, dude, this totally changes my perspective of what community is all about?
Oh yeah, for sure. A couple of them are kind of like, it's going to sound a little funny, but it clicked for me, right? So if you can picture it, so F3 is outside, right? So it's a workout. It's always outside, no matter what's happening. Cold, heat, rain, snow, doesn't matter, right? And so if you can picture, 40 pounds heavier, because I probably lost a little weight at this point, me, right? And we run down to this playground. And so everything we don't have gear, we don't have like weights or anything like that, right? So you just kind of use what's available in nature or in the environment, right? So we run to this playground in our town, and the call was, and it's peer led. So some guy decides what he wants to do, and he says, all right, you're going to do 100 pull-ups. And I was like, my fat butt can't do 1 pull-up, right? Maybe 1 pull-up, right? There's no way 100 pull-ups. That doesn't even make sense, right? And he said, each of you, so you and your partner, you're going to partner up, and maybe it was 50 pull-ups. It doesn't really matter. The point was, it was, for me, an impossible number at that time. There was no way that was going to happen, right? And he says, you're going to get to 100 pull-ups or 50, whatever it is, right? He says, but what you're going to do is you're going to do as many as you can, right? And then when you can't, because you're going to do them in sets of, let's say, sets of 10, right? But when you can't anymore, your partner is going to take your feet and he's actually going to lift and help you get over the bar. They're going to be just assisted, pull-ups. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I start doing these pull-ups, and the guy who was there with me, his name's Jeff Parker, and he's still one of my best friends today. And we still joke. I mean, this is, a dozen years ago, right? We still joke about, lifting each other's fat butts over this bar, because that was it was a deeply bonding thing for us, because there was no way I could do it by myself. There was no hope of doing it by myself, right? But after a lot of pain and a lot of struggle, and probably like 3 days sore afterward, I don't remember, right? You got through it. And it was only with the help of that other man. And so there's something after that workout, I was like, I think I just got what this is all about. I think I understand this whole F3 deal. Like why we're actually doing this. Yeah, the workout, that's fine. But I can join a $20 gym, $20 a month gym, and, I can get a decent workout. If I had a trainer, pay him a little bit of money and he could show me what to do, probably, in fact, some cases I might get a better workout, right? Or certainly more tailored to me, or whatever, right? But there was something about that, and I was like, oh, that's going to be important. So I kind of tucked that back there somewhere. And another one that got me was, we'll do these, we got into rucking, and we kind of got into these, overnight, 12, 14 hour, just brutal, just brutal. You spend 2 hours of the beginning of it doing PT kind of stuff, and then the long walk, and you carry heavy things and pick up logs and, sandbags and all this kind of stuff, right? And you just slog it out, and it's misery. And after doing kind of the first 1 or 2 of those, I was like, see, now I know what I'm capable of. And even in business or any of these other things, I always held back. There was no way I was giving you everything. Because as soon as I gave you everything and you stepped on it, then I didn't have me held back to keep myself safe, right? There was no way to protect myself. So but in those situations, in these physical situations where there was a task put before you, and you can't get there alone, and it's way beyond what you normally would do without people around you, like without help, because the call on the overnight ruck thing might have been, hey, move this, 1,000 pounds of gear 2 miles over there. You got to do about it. It would take you 3 weeks to do it by yourself. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Right. And you have a certain amount of time. And so it's like, how do you team up? How do you hand off? How do you solve this problem? And the only way to get there is together. And I think there were like things like that sort of clicked it, you know, and I was like, there's something to this, you know, there's something more. And really a lot of it was the discovery of the limits that I had put on myself were fake. You know, they were totally fake. I had just imagined them. You know, I could never do that. You know, turns out you can, right? Turns out you can. Sometimes you need help. And sometimes you just actually have a lot more in the tank and you're just unwilling because of whatever it is you're afraid of, whatever that thing is, right? So I think those were like those kinds of things were the things that really kind of tipped it over where I sort of caught the fire and understood like, all right, that's what we're really doing here. Yeah, it's a workout and we, you know, that's good. But really what we're doing here is we're unlocking hearts and minds. We're turning men back on again. You know, they've been in kind of standby mode. You know, and then we're firing that thing back up and you know, booting them back up and sending them out in the world to be the leaders that God called them to be.
You know, as you say that, several different things are coming to mind of these realizations that you learn through community, right? And while the pull-up bar, and what was your friend's name, Jeff?
Jeff, yeah.
Jeff.
Spider-Man, because his last name was Parker. That's
perfect. Yeah, so Spider-Man, dark helmet.
Yeah.
Doing pull-ups, right?
Yeah.
And helping each other through that. I think it's safe to say that the pull-up bar can represent anything outside of the pull-up bar, right? Absolutely. It could be your marriage that doesn't feel right. It could be your bank account that you don't feel like is enough. It could be, you know, whatever, like your kids aren't listening to you, you feel disconnected from one of your daughters. Yeah. It's the pull-up bar could represent several different things, but how do we get through this, not lone wolfing it, but also leverage that community where someone's spotting your feet, right? And even if you're laughing through the pain, right? Things like that. You know, one other quick reflection I want to share with you is I took my oldest son to a rite of passage called the Squire. And that's what led by...
This is the bodybuilding son?
No, this is my oldest son. This is the other one.
Oh, the older one. Okay.
We did... he's one of those guys. He's actually going to be a firefighter, so he actually loves physical challenges and that kind of thing. But I told him about this rite of passage. It's led by Bedros Koulian, and it's called the Squire. And father and son both go through this, and it's a 15-hour crucible. And it's led by Navy SEALs and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they're yelling at you, and they're having you do all kinds of hard... It's like an F3 workout for 15 hours straight.
Yeah.
And my son, I didn't know much about what we were going to do. I've just seen videos of it, and he's like, "Are you nervous about it?" I was like, "A little bit." I was like, I think we'll get through it just fine. I was like, they're not there to kill us. They're there to challenge us. I was like, but there's one thing I'm really nervous about. And he's like, "What's that?" I said, "It's the ice bath. I know one's coming." And I was like, and I don't know how long we're going to be in there. I've never done an ice bath. And as you know, I hate
being cold. Yeah.
And and my son had done tons of them because he was a wrestler and a track guy. And he was also in band too, but he did ice baths all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally are about ready to get in and this is where I think even community, but in this point in time, community showed up as two people in this scenario. It was my son and one of the coaches. And so we get through half the day, and then we head back to the compound, and then there's this giant ice truck. And I'm like, oh crap, here we freaking go, man. And we had sailed through the other stuff, like we were doing well. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. And then the SEALs are yelling at us to dump all the ice in. We break through our tub, and you and your son get in the same tub, and you're facing each other. It's like one of those giant troughs, you know. And we had to break through the ice to get to it. And then one of the SEALs put in a thermometer, and it was 31.5 degrees. And I was like, there's no way I'm gonna die in this thing. So anyway, my son gets in with a smile on his face. All these dads are in there with their kids. There's 15 tubs, 30 dads, 30 kids. I get in this thing, in the first 10 seconds, I'm like, oh, this actually isn't that bad. And then it started to hit me. And I was like, oh my God. And I started to panic. Because like I didn't know how long they were going to leave us in there for. I didn't know like this 3-minute thing. I was like, shit, we could be in here for like 9 minutes. I don't know. Yeah. But they don't tell you on purpose. And I was like, right. And I started getting in my head, and I was like, put my head down, and I was like, and my son is like literally right across from me, and I'm like, oh God. And I felt my heart starting to race, and I'm like, I need to get the hell out of this thing. And one of the coaches came up to me, And this is where I think community and sharing pain and someone to speak truth into your mind.
Yeah.
And he just he put his arms around me like this, and he was standing over me. He's like, Larry, breathe. He goes, look at your son. Your son is looking at you. He's staring right at you. I want you to look at your son. And I just did this. And I looked right up at him, and he was like, what's up, Dad? Like literally with a smile on his face. And I don't know. So it was that whisper in my ear, and it was seeing my son's face that I was like, I ain't getting out of this tub, no matter how long it tells us to stay in this thing.
Well, and not only that, but you didn't need to anymore.
Right.
Yeah. You knew you're safe. And I think, for as tough as we want to pretend we are, and as whatever bad mothers we want to pretend like we are, and as really, even as enlightened as we pretend like we are, it's still kind of this taboo of, hey man, it's okay for me to admit that I don't have it all figured out. And it is really hard sometimes. And sometimes I just don't want to do it. And sometimes I don't know if I have what it takes. Even still leading, this organization, doing the things that I've done, in business or, the physical, horrifying challenges and things that we've done and all this, like still sometimes you sit back and you go, I don't know. Or even if it's just I don't know if I have it today, and we talk all the time at F3 about the fact that like, you show up in the morning, yeah, because you committed to somebody the night before, and it was like, oh, you better call, like whatever. Okay, fine. Right. But sometimes you go because you just need to be there. You need to be supported. You need to be pushed. You need to have somebody whispering behind you. There's been many times when I'm running up the hill, and I hate hills. I mean, I had both my knees replaced a couple years ago, and oh yeah, it's terrible. And going up hills and down hills is the worst. And it's in my head a lot too, so painful. Yeah. And it gasses me pretty hard. I just suck at going up hills, like big hills. But without fail, I'll be running and I'll get past because that's what'll happen. Right. And a guy will be like, come on, man, come on. Like you got more. And those are the things, when I went to the gym by myself, because my doctor was like, you're going to die if you don't do something exercise wise. Like you're going to stroke out. It's going to be over. I would jog for a minute or two on the treadmill, maybe a mile or so until I got kind of tired. And then I was like, whew, killed it. Then I would go play on a machine and like pretend to move something around like I knew what I was doing. Right. Then I was like, worked out, done, and left to myself, there's no way that you would push yourself as far as you need to accomplish hard things. Yeah. And we talk about it all the time, and you've seen it a million times, and guys who are out there right now questioning themselves going, yeah, but I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't know if I have what it takes. That's, brother, I don't know how to tell you. You and every other man alive has asked himself the same question. And he fights with the same demon of, do I have what it takes? And the answer, without any hesitation, without any qualification, is you do. You do. You don't have to believe me right now. I just need you to understand that I'm not lying, right? You do have what it takes. You may have to have help to get there, right? There's going to be plenty of times. Like, dude, if I didn't tell guys I was showing up to a place in the morning, do you think I like getting up at 4:30, or 3 o'clock, or whatever it is, No, it is terrible. Objectively, would I rather sleep in my warm bed? Yes, every single morning. There's never a morning where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to, pop up out of bed today. It's a grind. But I can't imagine not doing it now.
And I think that is the fourth multiplier. It's that person that believes that there's more in you than what you think. And that's the person that brings it out in you. I definitely want to move on to raising daughters because I think you're awesome at that. But there's one final thing that I do want to share with you before we get there.
Yeah.
As you're talking about your time in the gym, running on the treadmill, I imagine you just running a mile and then like you going over to machines, and I'm thinking of like, the abductor machine where it's like the inner thigh machine, but somehow I'm like visualizing you on your knees and you're like pushing it like this with your arms or something, like
right. It's like doing it all wrong. I can't get any results out of this thing. And they're like, hey, first of all, it's not for that body part. Second of all, you're supposed to put weight on it. And you're like, what are you? Oh, I'm fine. Leave me alone. I'm a lone wolf. Didn't you? Don't you know? Yeah.
Oh my God. I could just see it now.
That's probably not too far off.
Probably now, but like, so let's move on to daughters though. So
Yes.
you have a 24-year-old, correct?
22, 20, and 16. Yeah.
22, 20, and 16.
Yeah.
So
Oldest one is married. Middle one is getting ready to head off. She just applied and is going to serve as a missionary for our church in Montreal, Canada. She's going to speak French for a year and a half and teach people about Jesus. And then I got a sophomore in high school.
all right, so let's go ahead and move on to dads with daughters. Obviously, anytime I get a guy on this show that is raising daughters, especially one who's got, said 22, 20, and 16. Is that right?
Indeed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 3 girls.
One is married. So I have field
Yes.
boys, no knowledge of this whatsoever. I'm a total idiot. So I really like to talk to somebody who's got 2 decades of experience. So
Fair. All right.
as it relates to raising daughters, I mean, like you were raised by a dad that the story I'm telling myself is you probably have repeated all those really bad patterns. And
Oh yeah. I
probably
tell them
to
how
your
terrible
dad.
they are all the time. And I, no, it's funny. Yeah, there was a guy that used to work for me. His name was Corey and his mom's name was Bridget. And we had, she was pretty wise. So we would have these Bridgetisms sometimes around the office. Right. And one of the Bridgetisms was, you can either be a good example or you can be a hideous warning. Right. So there's some truth to that. Right. And so I think I grew up kind of thinking, okay, I know what a hideous warning this looks like, and I saw how, like just because I had 4 sisters, right, growing up, 2 older from my dad's second marriage. And then my mom were the 4 youngest. So it was me and my brother and then 2 younger sisters. So, but basically, because my mom adopted them and they were pretty young too. And so they were always around. But so I basically had 4 sisters and a little brother. And I just saw how all that worked. And so I kind of made a lot of conscious effort to say, okay, I know I'm not going to do that. I'm going to figure out what the opposite of that is so that nobody has to feel the way I felt, so nobody had to grow up thinking the things I thought. Now, I'll admit, early in marriage and certainly early in parenting, figuring it out was a little bit tough. And since I was so just uncentered and I don't know a better word to say, like unmoored, as a man, I wasn't, I wasn't tied to the dock, you know what I mean? I was just kind of floating out there a little bit. The girls, it's funny, even the 22-year-old still remembers. She was probably only like 4 or something at the time, but she remembers literally. And Larry, guys don't believe me, especially guys I work out with because I yell at them all the time. She remembers the one time that I yelled, and I mean like lost my crap, yelled. Like she remembers it from when she was a little kid. And it was over like spilled juice in the car kind of stuff. Like it was nothing. But what I noticed is, yeah, I wasn't yelling at them when I was young, when they were young or whatever, because I was just like white knuckled, like, I will not, but like everything inside would be a hot mess, but I wouldn't act out, but I still wasn't really connected to them. The absence of yelling or the absence of anger still didn't mean I was doing a great job of, pouring into them the way that I should. But once they started getting a little bit older, and so, I mean, even, 4, 5, 6 years old for the oldest one. So even before the youngest one was even around, I had, that's, started coming along and discovering F3. And honestly, the 12-ish years or whatever now, having been in it, like, that has made an enormous amount of difference. Some of that is because of what I learned about myself. Some of that's from the mentoring that I've got. And a lot of it is because you have a built-in group of guys to bounce stuff off of and be like, all right, tell me how to pull my head out of my rear end before I screw this up, and it just makes a big difference. But raising daughters has been, I mean, I don't know how you do it before. I don't know if I could do it for boys. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to do man things too. I've had my nails painted more than times than I care to think about. Right. Played a lot of Barbies, but I'd love to do man things, but raising girls has been the best.
That's really cool, man. I just took my niece out for a pedicure, and she's 8, and I've never had a pedicure, like ever. Not I don't know the lingo. I don't know any of it. So we sit down, and I sit next to.
Did she know it?
Oh, she knew. She knew I never had gone. And we're on our way. This is literally like last Friday. And I'm like, so Brinley, what am I like? I'm gonna give you full autonomy today to you get Uncle Larry whatever it is you want, like as far as like my nails, the color, and all that. And she's like, okay. So we sit down, and she's like, what do you want? And I was like, all right, Brendan, what do you want? She's like, he wants blue and green, every other toe gel. And I'm like, and she's like, is that what you want? I was like, yeah, that's what she asked. So sure. I come home, and my wife, I showed my family, and they died laughing. And my wife goes, that's not gel, is it? And I was like, yeah, it's gel. And she's like,
Yeah, it's gel. She's like, oh, honey,
yeah,
that ain't coming off.
like, you realize that you're going to probably have those when the pool opens in May. And I'm like, what? She's like, that doesn't come off. Like, you need to go get that professionally taken off. I had no idea. So I thought,
So your teal is still blue and green?
oh, yeah. As
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
to you right now.
Yeah.
They are blue and green as I'm talking. I mean, this just got put on Friday. So, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
According to Monday after that. But, yeah. And they will be
love it.
when I see you at the Forge. So,
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Even better. Yeah.
Be like-
That's excellent.
But let's move. Let's finalize with that. Like, so
Yeah. So what about raising daughters?
No.
Oh, you want to talk about the Forge?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Forge a little bit.
All right, let's talk about the Forge.
So, I want to talk about as we wrap up here. You're going to be one of our speakers at the Forge. You're also going to be running a couple of our PT sessions. Can't think of a better one than to be led by Dark Hedman. But
awesome.
what's got you?
I've already gotten on Google Earth and mapped out.
Oh, you
Oh
did?
yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I see where we're going to run you boys. It's going to be awesome.
Oh man. So, well, the property we're going to be on is sick.
Dude, I saw some pictures. Nice.
It is pristine, amazing property. Like, let me tell you. But what are you most excited about when it comes to this type of event? Being that you've been in F3 for 12 years and you're going to be speaking there, and just being around men with a combined vision, all these different things. What's got you excited?
You said it right there. Being around men with a combined vision. That is going to be the best. And when a guy, now this is, obviously I benefit nothing, right? For a man coming to the Forge, outside of that he came to the Forge, and hopefully he discovered some things about himself. Because here's the thing, Larry, and this is the mission that I'm personally on, right? F3 is the vehicle, right? But for me, my personal mission that I will not rest, right, is we are going to restore virtue, right? That is what we are going to do. Manly virtue. That is the job. And I think the ultimate goal, yes, the workouts, yes, fellowship, but that faith piece, we talk a lot about faith, and it's not a religion or a dogma of any kind. It's really just that belief in something bigger than yourself, which means I've turned all of this energy and all of this power and all these things that have been put in me, I'm turning them out to serve others. That's really what it is at its core, right? And we live in a world where masculinity or manhood, heck, even femininity, all of it has been horrifyingly distorted. It has been completely disconnected from what I believe it was intended, when we were created. And I think that you see our values continue to just get flushed further and further down the toilet. And then we sit back and we're like, well, I just can't figure out why things are so bad. Like, it's like I tell people at work, I'm like, everybody around here runs around with flamethrowers and can't figure out why everything's on fire. Like, let's help each other out a little bit here, and I really believe that we are poised as men in some of these groups. And this is why, I love what you guys are doing with Dad Edge. I love what Ryan does with Order Man. I love that we're going to the Forge. I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing, because we don't need to reach the world, right? But we are going to reach some men who will then go and reach the world, right? Guys say all the time, like, oh, F3 is going to change the world. And I'm like, no, F3 is not for that. F3 is a framework to teach a man how to be a man. And when he becomes a man, a real one, a virtuous man, a virtuous leader in his home and in his community, then that is what will go and change the world, right? And so I'm heaven bent on this, right? And there's no way that I'm stopping. So I'm pumped to go to the Forge because it just means more opportunity to teach, more opportunity to energize, more opportunity to rub shoulders with, to learn from, to connect with other men who understand that it's this community thing that's going to get us all there, right? If I try to take on the world by myself, well, that's over. I mean, all I need to do is about, meet 5 or 6 guys stronger than I am, and it's kind of over, right? Now, I'm pretty strong will, but not strong enough. But when there's millions upon millions of men who believe what we believe, which is there is a place for how this is supposed to work, right? There's a place for virtuous masculinity to step into the breach, to protect those who need protecting, right? To love those who need loving. That is what we are for. The way in fact, I told this story on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like I'm going to share it really quick with you now is, I had this bad tendency, Larry. I stopped for people on the side of the road. Sometimes when who knows, right? And I started carrying stuff too now. Like I have a gas can and tools and jack and the thing and whatever, all this kind of stuff. Because you just don't know, right? I believe in being an asset to my community. I believe in being an asset and helping those who need help, regardless of what the circumstance is. And so one day I'm coming home, and this lady is stopped on the side of the road, and I see in the car, it's looks like mom, grandma, and little kid in the back, right? And African American family, and we're in South Carolina, right? So take that, right? I pull up in a pickup truck, hop out. I'm not a big guy. I mean, I'm not like Larry Hagner buff or anything like that, but I'm a big guy. I'm not a small guy, right? And I hop out, sunglasses on or whatever. I start walking toward the car, and it would be easy at that point, I think, for a woman to go, "Well, I don't love this. Who's this guy? What's this going to happen? Who knows, right? We don't know." And the other funny thing was, this is right around the time. This is early COVID, right? George Floyd, right? All that kind of stuff that was going on in the world. And so this is the scenario. But I hop out, Larry, and then I'm heading back to the car, and about halfway back, she jumps out and she says, "Oh, thank goodness." And Larry, she said this, she goes, "I saw your F3 sticker,
Oh, wow.
and I knew you would help, and I knew I would be safe." And that, my friends, whether it's an F3 sticker or a Dad Edge sticker or whatever else, that is the virtuous masculinity that I am absolutely dedicated to restoring to the communities where we live. I will not rest. I will die in the service of this 100%. And that's the call. That's why I'm so excited about the Forge, because to me, the Forge and places like that are where we raise the call, right? For men to say, look, this is who we can be, right? This is what's possible. And don't you want to live in that world? Don't you want to live in that world where there's never a question when someone stops you on the side of the road? Like, of course they're here to help. Of course you're safe. You know why I know? Because a dude got out.
Yeah.
Right? That's what is in my head all the time. And that's why I'm really pumped about being at the Forge, because that's what we're going to talk about there. That's the kind of stuff we're going to do there, right? Is igniting men to that purpose, that kind of purpose.
Man, I knew we thought very similar, but now, I mean, with how deep this just got, like, and that now I'm like, man, like we're like literally cut from the same cloth. But
Yeah.
let me run one more thing past you.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of men over, especially now with everything going on in the world. Like, dude, there's so much chaos going on in the world right now. I mean, my entire business is digital, and social media is extremely important to my business. And I've been considering completely just getting off Facebook and just being like, I'm just done with this. This is just ridiculous at this point, because all I see is people fighting. That's all I see.
Sure.
Instagram, a little bit different, not as bad, but pretty bad. But here's the thing. I love this virtuous view, this perspective. And this is what a lot of men ask me. Like, dude, there's so much craziness going on in the world. Like, how do I change it? How do I fight it? And this is what I tell guys. And I think you're probably cut from the same cloth, but I really want your objective perspective on this. I'm like, you want to change the world? Like, yeah, man, I want to change the world. Then you change you. Get your head right, get your heart right, and get your everybody under your own roof right. Like, get your house in order. That's what will change the world. You going outside of your house and fighting all this BS, that might be effective. It might be completely ineffective. But you know what's really effective? Getting your own house in order and getting you in order. That's how you fight the world. Hey,
100%.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. The family is the basic unit of society.
Yeah.
It is, when you boil it all down, that's the unit. There's a me, and as soon as I get married, is a we. Right? And that we and the children that come and the family that gets built, that is the basic unit. And so you go, well, how do you cure cancer? Well, you got to get rid of all the cancer cells. So that's the only way to do it, right? So the only way to get that done is to cure each individual cell, right? To get the bad out of every one of those. So it's parents, I'm sorry. You said you want to talk about wives. Now, Larry, we're going to run over and you can just cut me off because I'm about to start something, right?
Say it, man. Just let's go. Yell it from the top.
Get married to your wife. Recognize that you're there for each other. It is a mutual partnership. And as soon as you land on Marriage Island, light the boat on fire. Period. End of story. I don't care how hard it gets. I don't care what we start to go through. I don't care if we stop seeing eye to eye on some things. Guess what? My wife and I, we don't miss very often anymore. You know why? Because we talk about everything before it ever gets that far. We don't have to fight. We don't have to disagree because we disagree way back here when it's this big instead of way over here when it's this big. Right? Same thing with my girls, right? I look and I go, my job as a man is to go, okay, here we are today. If this tape plays to the end with this behavior, then what happens? Right? So let me help you adjust here when the movement of the train tracks on, the switch yard, when that movement is just an inch or two this way, right? It's easy here. But when your bags are in, Omaha and you're in, Nebraska or in Portland or something, like now we got a problem, right? But if we had just adjusted it way back here. So it's that discipline and consistency. But boys, get married to your wives, look them in the eye and say to yourself and say to her, I will die before I will leave this. I will die before I will leave this. And figure it out. Suck up your ego, right? Pull your thumb out of your mouth. I'm sorry if your needs haven't been getting met. I get it. There are needs that need to be, that's life, right? We're human beings. I'm sorry if it hasn't happened now. But you get on that same page with her and dedicate yourself to her service and really plead with her if necessary to do the same for you, right? So now I remember how we got on that little topic there, but the point being, right, that this basic unit is where it gets fixed. That's where it happens. That's the only place it can happen. Now, Larry, I'm going to tell you this. If you get off social media, I'll kill you.
I'll kill you.
Larry, I need you in the fight.
I'm here in the fight.
I need you in the fight.
I'm just annoyed.
You cannot leave there.
Yeah.
You cannot let your temporary emotion of annoyedness and stupidity be the thing that drives you away from putting goodness out in the world. Engage. Right. Tell them, hey, man, you guys seem like you fight a lot. You ever thought about kissing and making up? Right? Have you ever thought about that maybe he's a little right and maybe you're a little wrong? We need the positive out there, man. If every man decided to leave social media or to stop doing whatever, right? Because it got a little hot, but I don't like it, but they're mean to each other. Give me a break, right? Can't you stay in the fight, boys? Stay in the fight. Keep pushing the positive things. Keep flooding the world. If there is no room for evil left in the world, because we've flooded it with so much goodness, we don't really have to fight very hard, right? No one has to get, in a battle. We've made it impossible for evil to, like if I just keep pouring water in the cup, eventually all of that coffee comes out. It's just water, right? So we're just going to keep pouring that positivity in, pouring the virtue in, pouring the masculinity in, pouring the love in until evil just has no room to exist anymore.
See, this is why good men who are aligned need to stay aligned. Because here I am talking to you, I'm complaining, right, about social media and how it's pissing me off. and you're in my face telling me like, suck it up because you're in this. No, I'm serious. Like, I appreciate that. Like, first of all, I probably would not get off social media, but has the thought crossed
It's critical, but I get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
But the thoughts crossed my mind. I'm like, man, this is BS. I'm so tired of this. But here's another good man telling another man, no, dude, you need to stay in this fight because what you have to say is valuable and it's too much good. And
Important.
If the good gets shut down, all people are going to hear is the bad. So this is why I think this is another reason why good men need to be with other good men. And I appreciate you giving me that perspective and getting in my face a little bit.
So go to themensforge.com and register your butt.
That's right. Get there. Get there. That's right.
I'm serious, man. It is going to be, I'm so pumped. It's going to be 3 days of just pure, concentrated awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, it will. We've got you on stage. We got Dwayne Knoll. We got GS Youngblood. And it's going to be...
Come on, these are the heavy hitters, baby.
No, man, it's going to be killer.
And it was funny. I didn't even know who Dwayne Knoll was, but I saw some shorts. And I was like, that guy gets it. And then I went on the website. I was like, holy crap, we're going to meet him. This is going to be amazing.
I'm thinking, when I see him or I hear him talk, I was like, if John Dutton was a real life character, it's probably Dwayne Knoll. Right.
That's as close you're going to get, right? As close. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Well, listen up, man. Well, where can guys find you and connect with you? And also, here's a really good question.
Yeah.
Where can guys find out if there's an F3 in their area?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So here's what you do. Look, if you're sitting here listening to this right now and you go, the things that jackwagon is saying kind of resonate with me. And I'm tired of being fat, and I'm tired of being lazy, and I'm tired of I'm tired of taking a back seat, man. I don't need permission to be a man anymore. You hop out to www. I guess you don't have to say that anymore. All right, never mind. Forget I said that. You hop out to f3nation.com. All right. And then there's a place on there, I think it says start here, and there's a locations tab or whatever, right? But there's a huge map. And all you do is click the map, and it will automatically pull up where you are. Like, it'll know where you are. It'll show you all the ones that are nearby you. And it'll say, hey, this one happens at this time, that one's at this time, whatever, right? So find one. And here's all you have to do. It's a very complicated application process. Show up. Ta-da! That's it. And when somebody says, hey, who brought you out? You can tell them it's either, your choice. You can either say, well, Pressbox brought me out, or Dark Helmet brought me out. Right. And because I heard it on the Dad Edge. That's what you're going to say. And then they'll go, awesome, man. And that's it. And then you'll get an idiot nickname and you'll be part of the group. And here's the thing is, the other thing I love is it's open to all men, which means all fitness levels. There's no, dude, I was fat and I could not run. It was terrible. And I huffed and puffed for a while, but then eventually, it's okay. Guys will never leave you behind. There's zero machismo, kind of stuff. It is a brotherhood of men that just want you to get better. So go to f3nation.com, find a workout near you, show up, get an idiot nickname, and then keep coming back and keep fellowshipping with good men who want you to be better.
I love that, man. Especially get the idiot nickname. I love that.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, guys, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
We'll have all the links in the show notes. I'm also going to put your social media in there too. So guys.
Dark Helmet F3 on Twitter or X. I refuse to call it Twitter. I refuse to call it X. It's Twitter. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, it's Twitter. I don't care what you call it. But yeah, Dark Helmet F3 on Twitter. Or you can find me. I'm on Facebook, Frank Schwartz. You can find me. Just look for the giant head.
Well, we're going to have all the links in the show notes for these guys. I'm going to put all that in there because I think a lot of guys probably share in my perspective of we're sick and tired of seeing the negative stuff. So go follow guys like Frank, who's going to put positive stuff out there, right?
Let's go.
If you guys go to thedadedge.com/1446 for the show, again, thedadedge.com/1446. I'm going to have Frank's contact info in there, F3 Nation. I'm going to have the Men's Forge in there as well. We're going to have all that for you guys. We want to see you guys out there, especially you local F3 guys in St. Louis. You guys have no excuse. You're right here. You got to come to the Men's Forge and meet.
I don't want to hear about it. Oh, we'd have to drive a couple hours. Boo-hoo. You've done harder things.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially if you've rocked 14 hours carrying 1,000 pounds of stuff from...
Dude, let me tell you something. And those St. Louis boys, St. Louis is one of our biggest population concentrations in all of F3. And those boys get after it.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I can vouch for that. They do. So, and yeah, what Frank said too, guys, by the way, it's all shapes and sizes. I think one of the last workouts I was at, there was a guy who was 63 years old, and he kind of like, he scaled it and kind of like almost, I wouldn't say walked through it, but he did just fine.
Yeah.
And
I mean, dude, we have a guy that's almost 80 that works out, and really he does a lot of walking, but he's almost 80. And we've had guys that come out there 600 pounds, dude. I mean, it does not matter. If they call buddy carries, fireman carry, I'm probably not carrying you. I love you, but but eventually I've carried a 340 before. 600 might be a stretch, but run 100 yards with a big fella. You can do that.
I mean, as long as you got that giant helmet on, you probably do that. But
that's right. It's a source of all my power.
I do have one more question for you, though.
Yeah.
Is the passcode to your phone 12345?
I'd rather not say. This is my luggage combination. No, I'm just kidding.
Just so you guys know, American Airlines and Southwest. No.
That's right.
But dude, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, man. Oh, thanks for having me, man. I always love it. Appreciate you, brother.
You bet. Back at you, man. I can't wait to see you at the Forge.
Same.